Hello, Rama Pupodu. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, wonderful, having a happy and peaceful life. Now let's continue with devotee Yogi Ram Surat Kumar. After that meeting, our next interaction was in 1986. I was collecting articles of the reminiscences of devotees of Ramana Maharishi for publication in the Mountain Path. Anuradha, J. Jayaraman, the ashram librarian, and I set out to meet Yogi in this regard. Since we were not planning on taking notes, we had decided on recording the meeting surreptitiously. Jayaraman tested the recorder outside Yogi Ram Surakumar's residence and made sure it was working properly. However, when he tried to operate the recorder in the room, it would not work. Yogi Ram Surat Kumar started angrily narrating an earlier incident in the day where he was photographed without permission and said, Ganesa, people have no courtesy these days. They try to photograph or record this beggar without asking him. J. Raman and I exchanged a look, and I mentally apologized for this indiscretion. Immediately his mood changed, and he ecstatically started recounting his experiences with Bhagavan. Once, when I was seated in the presence of Sri Bhagavan, he vividly narrated a fascinating story which is also highly significant. There lived a pair of birds by the side of the ocean. Leaving their eggs in their nest, they would fly to far off places in search of food. One day, on their return, they were aghast to find that their nest, along with the eggs, had been devoured by the waves of the sea. They became very angry with the ocean and, in all seriousness, vowed that they would empty it, if necessary, in order to retrieve their eggs. They immediately started the operation of emptying the ocean by taking the seawater in their beaks, mouthful by mouthful, and dropping it at a far off place. They did this endlessly without rest and with all earnestness and alertness. Days passed and they were still one pointedly dipping their beaks into the ocean and flying away to dispose of the water. One day, a great being happened to pass by. Observing the tireless efforts of the two birds, he asked them what they were up to. The birds explained that their eggs had been washed into the ocean and they were determined to empty it in order to retrieve them. Surprised, the great being exclaimed, What? This is impossible. Can you two tiny birds ever hope to empty the ocean, however relentless your efforts may be? What doubt can there be? Replied the birds. We are absolutely certain that we shall eventually succeed and retrieve our precious eggs. Moved by their tremendous faith and devotion, the great being compassionately put his hands into the ocean, found the eggs, and returned them to the overjoyed birds. Sri Bhagavan then said, Emptying the ocean is analogous to knowing God alone without grace. It is impossible, but if one has the unshakable faith and earnestness of the two birds in the story, the Guru will appear without fail and fulfill one's spiritual aspirations. On another occasion, I was thrilled to witness the compassion of Sri Bhagavan. A devotee, Eknath Rao, brought into the hall a bowl filled with fruits cut into pieces and placed it before Sri Bhagavan. Within the large bowl was a smaller bowl with pieces cut specially for Sri Bhagavan. Bhagavan's sense of equality was total, and although his tolerance towards devotees was immense, he would never permit anything special for himself. When Bhagavan noticed a separate bowl for himself, he was annoyed and pushed the big bowl aside roughly. A few pieces of the fruit spilled onto the floor and were left there. The devotee then began to distribute the pieces to all in the hall. Everyone sat with a few pieces in their hands, not wanting to eat since Bhagavan himself did not have any. Out of compassion for the devotees, Sri Ramana reached down, picked up the pieces that had fallen on the floor, and began to eat. The rest of the devotees were then able to eat too. Yogi Ram Surat Kumar continued with his narration. Once a devotee asked Bhagavan whether a disciple who has not realized can take to another guru after his guru drops the body. Bhagavan replied, "No, there is no need because the Guru's grace and blessings will continue even when the body is dropped." Anuradha promptly interrupted and asked Yogi Ram Surakumar, "If that is the case, why did you go to Swami Ramdas after Bhagavan's Mahasamadhi?" Yogi Ram Surakumar looked at her with a benign smile and explained, "The divine favor that I experienced in Bhagavan's presence began to wane when I left him and went to stay in Himalayas. Nevertheless, I had begun to see that a higher power was expressing itself, using me as an instrument. Bhagavan Ramana was a principal influence in shaping this beggar to this state. After his passing away, this beggar needed a guru in the body. I did not see any conflict in going to Swami Ramdas. It was Swami Ramdas who initiated this beggar and gave him this madness, the inner life of saints like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, Sri Aurobindo, J. Krishnamurti, and Swami Ramdas is far, far removed from what we can externally perceive of them. They operate rooted in the eternal infinite, which can never be known. There is no individual there to report differences. Okay, let's continue in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Popoda.